Captain James Miller stood on the bridge of the patrol cruiser Vigilant, his eyes fixed on the main screen. What he saw made no sense. Space itself seemed to tear open, like fabric ripping apart. Through this strange hole came a ship, if you could call it that. It was huge, at least 5 times bigger than the Vigilant. "Status report," Miller said, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "Sir, sensors show it's." "Well, it's unlike anything we've seen before," replied Officer Tom Davis, his fingers moving quickly across his control panel. "Power readings are off the charts, but in ways our systems can barely measure." The mystery ship hung in space, dark and silent. No lights, no movement, no sign that anyone was inside. Lieutenant Anna Roberts, Miller's second-in-command, stood beside him. "Should we call this in to command, sir?" Miller thought for a moment. They were at the edge of human space, far from any backup. By the time command responded, whatever was happening here might be over. "No," he decided. "First, we need to know what we're dealing with. Scan for life signs." "None detected, Captain," Davis reported. "But there's some kind of energy field that might be blocking our scans." Miller nodded. "Prepare a boarding party. I'll lead it myself." Roberts frowned. "Sir, regulations clearly state." "I know the regulations, Lieutenant," Miller cut her off. "But there's something about this that feels important, too important to wait." He turned to her. "You have the bridge." The shuttle journey to the mystery ship took less than 10 minutes. Miller led a team of 5. Himself, 2 security officers, an engineer, and a science specialist. As they approached, the ship's true size became clear. It was massive, with a design that seemed both ancient and futuristic at the same time. "Look at those hull plates," whispered engineer Pete Wilson. "They don't even look like metal. And see how there are no seams. It's like the whole thing was grown rather than built." Miller's team found what looked like an entry point, a flat area that might be a docking bay. As they approached, a section of the hull simply disappeared, revealing an opening just big enough for their shuttle. "It's inviting us in," said Science Officer Laura Green. Nobody disagreed. Inside, they found corridors lit by a soft blue light that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere. The air was breathable, the gravity normal. Everything was clean, as if the ship had been built yesterday, not abandoned in space. They followed the main corridor until it opened into what could only be the bridge. Unlike the cramped command center of the Vigilant, this room was spacious, with stations that seemed designed for creatures with human-like bodies. "This is impossible," Green said, running her scanner over one of the stations. "These displays, they're responding to my thoughts, not my touch." Before Miller could reply, a voice filled the room. Deep, calm, neither male nor female. "Welcome, inheritors of the legacy. Your arrival activates primary protocols." The team froze. Miller stepped forward. "Who are you? Where is your crew?" A hologram appeared in the center of the bridge, a sphere of swirling light. "I am Guardian, the caretaker of this vessel. There is no crew. There has not been for 10,000 years." Miller exchanged looks with his team. 10,000 years. That was before humans had even left Earth. "What is this ship? Where did it come from?" he asked. "This vessel is the Vindicator," Guardian replied. "It was created by those you would call the architects, a civilization that faced extinction. I was programmed to wait, dormant, until I detected beings worthy of inheriting this ship's purpose." "And what purpose is that?" Miller asked. "To protect those who embody the force of people, the capacity to stand together against overwhelming odds. To defend those who value cooperation over domination." Miller frowned. "I don't understand." "You will," Guardian said. "Already, your neural patterns show the potential. You think first of your people, not yourselves. You act as one when facing the unknown." Before Miller could ask more questions, alarms blared. Not from the Vindicator, but from his own communicator. "Captain, It was Roberts, her voice urgent. The hegemony is attacking New Terra colony. 3 dreadnoughts just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The colony's defenses won't hold for long. Miller's blood ran cold. The hegemony, a group of advanced alien species, had been pushing into human space for years. New Terra was home to over 50,000 people. We need to get back to the Vigilant, Miller told his team. We? That would be inefficient, Guardian interrupted. The Vindicator can reach New Terra in minutes. Your vessel would require hours. Miller hesitated. Trust a strange ship and its AI. That went against every protocol. But if what Guardian said was true, can you help us fight the hegemony? He asked. The hologram pulsed. The Vindicator was built for this purpose, to defend those who stand together against tyranny. I detect in you and your people this quality, what the architects called the force of people. The force of people, Wilson repeated, confused. The strength that comes not from technology or weapons, but from unity, Guardian explained. The architects believed this force was the most powerful in the universe. They built me to find and protect those who possess it. Miller made his decision. Show us how to operate this ship. The bridge stations lit up. I will guide you, Guardian said. Each of you, take a position. As they did, Miller felt a strange connection forming, not just with the ship, but with his team. He could sense their thoughts, their fears, their determination. What's happening? Green asked, her voice shaking slightly. The Vindicator amplifies the force of people, Guardian explained. It connects those who work together, making them stronger as one than they could ever be alone. Miller took a deep breath. Guardian, set course for New Terra colony. Maximum speed. Course set, the AI replied. Preparing for dimensional shift. The view screen showed space itself folding around them. Miller felt a moment of disorientation, and then they were there. New Terra filled the screen, beautiful blue and green. Above it hung 3 dark shapes, hegemony dreadnoughts, their weapons already firing on the colony's shields. Guardian, Miller said, his voice steady with newfound certainty. Let's show the hegemony what this ship can do. The Vindicator moved forward, ancient weapons warming up, ready to fight for its new crew, defenders of the force of people. The Vindicator moved toward New Terra with silent grace despite its massive size. Captain Miller and his small team watched as the hegemony ships continued their attack on the colony. Bright flashes of energy struck the planet's shields, which were already starting to fail. Those are Mark 7 defense shields, Engineer Wilson said, his voice tense. They were never meant to handle this kind of assault. They'll collapse in minutes. Miller turned to the glowing sphere that represented Guardian. What can this ship do to help them? The hologram pulsed with blue light. The Vindicator has many defensive systems. What are your orders, Captain? Miller hesitated. He was still not sure if he could trust this strange AI and its ancient ship. What if its help made things worse? I need to know what we're working with, he said firmly. What weapons does this ship have? The Vindicator does not have weapons as you understand them, Guardian replied. It has protection systems designed to neutralize threats while minimizing harm. Science Officer Green looked up from her station. Captain, I'm detecting energy signatures unlike anything I've ever seen. Whatever this ship can do, it's beyond our technology. Miller made his decision. Guardian, protect the colony. But don't destroy the hegemony ships unless there's no other choice. Understood, the AI responded. The Vindicator surged forward. From its hull, dozens of small objects launched toward New Terra. They looked like silver discs, each no bigger than a dinner plate. What are those? Miller asked. Defense drones, Guardian explained. They will create a secondary shield network. On the view screen, Miller watched as the drones positioned themselves in the space between the hegemony ships and New Terra. They began to pulse with energy, connecting to each other with beams of blue light. Within seconds, they had formed a glowing web above the colony. The next volley of hegemony weapons struck this new shield, and stopped completely. The energy didn't just bounce off, it seemed to be absorbed. The drones are converting the attack energy and feeding it back into the colony's original shields. Green said, amazed. They're actually getting stronger with each hit. One of the hegemony dreadnoughts changed tactics, launching what looked like hundreds of smaller ships. Dropships, Miller said grimly. They're trying to land troops. Without waiting for orders, the Vindicator released another wave of drones, these smaller and faster. They intercepted the dropships with precision. Instead of destroying them, each drone attached itself to a dropship and seemed to override its controls, sending them back toward the hegemony vessels. Guardian, what's happening? Miller asked. The interceptors are redirecting the invasion force, the eye replied. No lives are being taken. The hegemony soldiers will return to their ships unharmed. Lieutenant Roberts had been quiet until now, studying the ship's systems. She looked up with wonder in her eyes. This technology, it's designed to stop conflicts without killing. These aren't weapons, they're peacekeeping tools. The hegemony forces, clearly confused by the unexpected resistance, began to pull back. Their dreadnoughts turned away from Mutera, gathering their return dropships. They're retreating, Wilson said with disbelief. Just like that. Not retreating, Guardian corrected. Regrouping. They will return with different tactics. Miller nodded. He had fought the hegemony before. They never gave up easily. We need to contact New Terra and explain what's happening, he said. And I need to report to my superiors. Communications are being blocked, Guardian informed him. The hegemony has deployed signal jammers throughout this sector. Miller frowned. Then we need to go down to the surface. They need to know they have an ally. An hour later, Miller stood in the main government building of New Terra, facing Governor Bill Foster and his Security Council. He had brought Roberts and Green with him, leaving Wilson on the Vindicator with Guardian. You expect me to believe that an ancient alien ship just appeared out of nowhere to save us? Foster asked, his face skeptical. And now you, a patrol captain, are in control of it. I know how it sounds, Miller admitted, but you saw what happened. Those shields that saved you came from the Vindicator. And what does this Guardian want in return? Asked Security Chief Jane Cooper. Nothing comes for free. Roberts stepped forward. From everything we've learned, the ship was created to protect civilizations that value cooperation over conflict. It doesn't want payment. It's fulfilling its purpose. Foster exchanged looks with his council. Even if what you say is true, the hegemony will be back. They'd been pushing into our space for years. One miraculous save doesn't win the war. No, Miller agreed, but it might give us a fighting chance. The meeting was interrupted by an aide rushing in. Governor, we're receiving reports from other colonies. The hegemony is attacking 3 more settlements in this sector. Miller's heart sank. The hegemony was spreading their forces, knowing the Vindicator couldn't be everywhere at once. I need to get back to the ship, he said. Foster grabbed his arm. Wait, if what you say about this ship is true, then it's the most powerful asset humanity has right now. It should be under proper military command, not a patrol captain. Miller pulled his arm free. Guardian chose us. I don't think it works that way. Back on the Vindicator, Guardian confirmed Miller's fears. The hegemony is attacking multiple targets simultaneously. Their strategy is sound. We cannot protect all locations at once. There must be something we can do, Miller insisted. The hologram pulsed thoughtfully. There is a possibility. The Vindicator can create temporary connections, what you might call portals, between distant points in space, like faster-than-light travel. Green asked. More direct, Guardian explained. But to coordinate such a defense network would require more than the 4 of you. It would need many humans working together, a true manifestation of the force of people. Miller thought for a moment. You mean we need a bigger crew? Yes, Guardian said. But not just any crew. People who understand that true strength comes from unity. The Colony Defense Forces, Roberts suggested. They're volunteers who fight to protect their homes. If anyone embodies this force of people, it's them. Miller nodded, a plan forming in his mind. Guardian, can you create one of these portals back to New Terra? Yes, Captain. Good, Miller said with newfound determination. Because we're going to build an army. Not to conquer, but to defend. Not to destroy, but to protect. As the Vindicator prepared to return to New Terra, Miller looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the hegemony was planning their next move. But for the first time since the alien coalition had appeared at the edges of human space, Miller felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Word about the strange warship spread quickly among the human colonies. Some called it a miracle. Others said it was a trick. But everyone was talking about the Vindicator. Captain Miller stood on the bridge, looking at a map of human space. Red dots showed hegemony attacks. There were too many. We've helped 3 colonies in the past week, Lieutenant Roberts said, joining him. But for each one we save, 2 more come under attack. Miller nodded grimly. The hegemony is testing us, trying to find out what the Vindicator can do and what it can't. The blue hologram of Guardian appeared beside them. Captain, I am detecting a high-priority communication breaking through the hegemony's jamming signals. Put it through, Miller ordered. The main screen flickered, showing the stern face of Admiral Thomas Wilson, head of the United Galactic Defense Force. His gray hair and lined face showed his age, but his eyes were sharp. Captain Miller, he said, I've received some interesting reports about you and a ship called the Vindicator. Miller straightened. Yes, sir. I was going to report in, but the hegemony's communications blackout. Save it, the Admiral cut him off. I've got 6 colony governors telling me you have an alien superweapon. Is that true? Not a weapon, sir, Miller corrected. The Vindicator is designed for defense. Admiral Wilson's eyes narrowed. Whatever it is, Captain, it represents an asset that should be under proper military control. I'm on my way to your location now. When I arrive, you will transfer command of this vessel to me. Understood. Miller hesitated. Sir, it's not that simple. The ship's AI, Guardian, has certain criteria for its operators. Are you refusing an order, Captain? Wilson's voice was dangerous. No, sir, Miller replied. I'm just explaining the situation. After the call ended, Engineer Wilson looked worried. The Admiral isn't going to understand about the force of people. He'll try to use the Vindicator like any other warship. Miller knew he was right. The Admiral was a good man, but he thought in terms of hierarchy and military power. The Vindicator worked differently. We need to show him, Miller decided. When he arrives, he needs to see what this ship really is. 3 days later, the Admiral's command cruiser, the Intrepid, arrived at their position near the colony of Hope's Landing. Miller had his crew prepare a proper military welcome, although Guardian seemed confused by the formalities. Why do humans use these rituals of rank? The AI asked as they waited in the docking bay. It's about order, Miller explained. Structure. Knowing who's in charge helps people work together. Interesting, Guardian replied. The architects had different methods of coordination. They believed true strength came from voluntary cooperation, not imposed hierarchy. Before Miller could respond, the docking bay doors opened, and Admiral Wilson strode in, flanked by 6 armed officers. His eyes immediately went to the strange, flowing design of the Vindicator's interior. Impressive, he admitted. Now, Captain, I want a full briefing on this vessel's capabilities. Miller led the Admiral to the bridge, explaining about Guardian and the ship's origins as they walked. Wilson listened but said little. On the bridge, the Admiral studied everything with a critical eye. So this AI claims the ship was built by some extinct aliens called the Architects, and it's chosen you because of some mystical force of people. It's not mystical, Science Officer Green said. We've been studying it. The ship's systems actually respond to human cooperation. The more we work together, the more powerful it becomes. Wilson frowned. Sounds like alien manipulation to me. For all we know, this thing could be a Trojan horse. Guardian's hologram appeared. I understand your suspicion, Admiral Wilson. It is wise to question what you do not understand. Would you like to see evidence of my purpose? What kind of evidence? Wilson asked cautiously. I can show you the memories of the architects, Guardian replied. Their final days, and why they created me. Before the Admiral could answer, alarms blared. Engineer Wilson checked his console. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. It's the biggest hegemony fleet I've ever seen. The main screen showed at least 20 large warships appearing around Hope's Landing. At their center was a vessel twice the size of the others. That's the Dominion, Admiral Wilson said, his face pale. The flagship of the Hegemony Council. I've never seen it deployed before. Guardian's hologram pulsed with urgency. This is not a random attack. They have come specifically for the Vindicator. As if confirming Guardian's words, a communication came through. The screen showed an alien face, gray-skinned with 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Golden armor covered its shoulders. Humans, the alien said in perfect English. I am Archon Vex, Supreme Commander of the Hegemony Forces. You have in your possession a cosmic aberration, a vessel that violates the natural order. Surrender it immediately, or we will destroy this colony and everyone in it. Admiral Wilson stepped forward. This is Admiral Thomas Wilson of the United Galactic Defense Force. We do not respond to threats. The alien's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. You misunderstand, Admiral. This is not a negotiation. The ship you call Vindicator represents a power that was meant to be lost. Its creators threatened the balance of the galaxy once before. We will not allow their legacy to rise again. The communication cut off. Miller looked at Guardian. What was he talking about? Did the architects fight the hegemony before? Not the hegemony specifically, Guardian replied. But yes, the architects faced a similar coalition of species who feared their power. That conflict led to their extinction. Admiral Wilson turned to Miller. I don't care about ancient history right now. We need to evacuate the colony. My ship can take some, but not all. We won't abandon them, Miller said firmly. Guardian, what can we do? The hologram seemed to consider. There is a way. The Vindicator was designed for exactly this scenario, to protect those who cannot protect themselves against overwhelming force. How? Green asked. By forming a deeper connection with human operators, Guardian explained. What I have shown you so far is only a fraction of this ship's capabilities. To access its full power would require a direct neural link between the ship's systems and human minds. Miller felt a chill. You want to connect to our brains? Yes, Guardian said simply. The architects called it the collective consciousness interface. It would allow you to control the Vindicator with thought alone, and access all its systems at once. That sounds dangerous, Roberts said. It is, Guardian admitted. No other species has attempted it since the architects. But it may be the only way to save Hope's Landing. Admiral Wilson had been listening silently. Now he spoke. I came here to take command of this ship, but I'm beginning to see it's not that simple. He looked at Miller. You've got experience with this thing. What do you think? Miller looked at his crew, then at the hegemony fleet on the screen. I think we need to try. Not just for Hope's Landing, but for all humanity. The Admiral nodded slowly. All right, Captain. Show me what this force of people can really do. The bridge of the Vindicator was quiet as Guardian explained what the neural link would mean. 6 humans will be needed, the AI said. The link will connect you to each other and to the ship's systems. You will think as one, but remain individuals. Captain Miller looked at his crew. I won't order anyone to do this. I'm in, Lieutenant Roberts said immediately. Me too, added Science Officer Green. Engineer Wilson nodded. Count me on. 2 more officers, Security Chief Davis and Navigation Officer Martinez, also stepped forward. Admiral Wilson watched them all. "You understand the risks. This alien technology could fry your brains or worse." "The colony has 50,000 people," Miller replied. "We have to try." The Admiral sighed. "Then I'll coordinate the defense for my ship. We'll give you whatever support we can." Guardian led the 6 volunteers to a circular room deep within the Vindicator. In the center was a platform with 6 glowing spots arranged in a circle. "Stand on the markers," Guardian instructed. "The process will begin automatically." Miller took his position. The others followed. As soon as they were all in place, the floor beneath them lit up with flowing patterns of light. "Clear your minds," Guardian's voice came from all around them. "Do not resist what you will experience." The light grew brighter, surrounding them, flowing up their bodies. Miller felt a strange tingling sensation. Then suddenly, he was not just James Miller anymore. He could feel Robert's calm determination, Green's scientific curiosity, Wilson's practical focus, Davis's protective instincts, and Martinez's spatial awareness. More than that, he could feel the Vindicator itself. Every system, every capacity, as if it were part of his own body. And beyond that, fragments of memory that weren't his, cities of crystal and light, beings of incredible wisdom and power, the architects in their final days, working desperately to create the Vindicator as their legacy. "It worked," Miller said, but his voice sounded strange even to himself, as if multiple people were speaking at once. "We need to hurry," Roberts said through the link. "The hegemony fleet is moving into attack position." Together, their minds guided the Vindicator out of its hiding place near Hope's Landing. They could sense Admiral Wilson's ship, the Intrepid, moving alongside them, small compared to the Vindicator, but still fighting. The hegemony fleet was arranged in a half-circle around the colony. At its center, the massive Dominion loomed like a predator. Through the neural link, Miller and his crew accessed weapons systems they hadn't known existed. The Vindicator could generate energy shields large enough to cover the entire colony. It could create spatial distortions that would divert enemy weapons fire harmlessly away. "They're targeting the colony's power centers," Green observed through the link. Without speaking, they directed the Vindicator to deploy its defenses. Silver drones shot out from the ancient ship, forming a protective net around Hope's Landing. The hegemony opened fire. Thousands of energy blasts struck the drone shield and were absorbed, just as before. But this time, the linked crew could feel the energy being redirected, flowing through the Vindicator systems. "We can use their own power against them," Wilson realized. The Vindicator released a pulse of the captured energy, not at the hegemony ships, but into space between them. The pulse created a network of glowing energy lines connecting Admiral Wilson's Intrepid with the other human defense ships that had gathered. "What's happening?" came Admiral Wilson's voice over the communication system. Through their shared consciousness, Miller understood. "We're connecting your ships, sharing power, defenses, targeting systems, fighting as one." On the small human defense ships, crews watched in amazement as their outdated weapons suddenly operated with pinpoint accuracy. Their weak shields strengthened. Their engines responded faster than ever before. The linked crew of the Vindicator could feel it all, the surge of hope through the human fleet, the confusion among the hegemony forces as their superior numbers suddenly meant less. The battle shifted. Human ships darted between the larger hegemony vessels, their coordinated movements making them nearly impossible to hit. The Vindicator itself moved with impossible grace for something so large, drawing fire away from the colony. Archon Vex's voice came through on all channels. "This is exactly why the aberration must be destroyed. It upsets the natural order. The many must not be allowed to challenge the powerful few." Through the neural link, Guardian spoke directly to the linked crew's minds. "Now you understand. The hegemony, and those like them, fear the force of people above all else. When the many unite as one, the few cannot dominate." The hegemony fleet began to take losses. 3 of their smaller ships, overwhelmed by the coordinated human defense, retreated from the battle. Others showed signs of damage. But on the bridge of the Dominion, Archinvex was not ready to accept defeat. "Activate the Nova Core," he ordered. "If we cannot have the aberration, no one will." Through the link, the crew of the Vindicator sensed a massive energy buildup in the heart of the Dominion. "What is that?" Miller asked, his thoughts carrying to the others. Guardian's presence in their shared consciousness grew solemn. "A doomsday weapon. It creates a controlled supernova effect. It will destroy everything in this star system, the colony, all ships, even the Dominion itself. They would sacrifice their own flagship." Roberts was shocked. "To eliminate the Vindicator, yes," Guardian confirmed. "The architects faced this exact scenario in their final battle. History is repeating itself." Miller felt a cold certainty from Guardian's presence in their minds. What happened then? How did the architects stop it? "They didn't," Guardian replied. "They saved others, but at the cost of their own civilization." The crew watched through their shared vision as the Dominion's hull began to glow with building energy. They could feel the waves of radiation already affecting nearby space. "There must be something we can do," Green insisted. Through their connection, they sensed a possibility. A desperate plan hidden deep in the Vindicator systems. "The preservation protocol," Guardian acknowledged. "It was the architect's final gift, never used." "What does it do?" Miller asked. "It creates a massive spatial corridor, larger than any previously generated. The Nova Core's energy could be channeled through it, away from this system. But," Miller sensed there was more. "But it will strain the Vindicator systems beyond their limits, and it will require everything from the neural link. Your complete unity, your total commitment to saving others regardless of the cost to yourselves." The 6 linked humans shared their thoughts, feelings, fears. No words were needed. They reached a decision as one. "We'll do it," Miller said, "for all of them. For Hope's Landing. For humanity. For the force of people." As the Dominion's Nova Core reached critical levels, the Vindicator moved into position between the Hegemony flagship and the colony. Through the neural link, the 6 humans poured everything they had into the ship's systems. The Vindicator began to glow with the same blue light they had seen when they first boarded it. Light that now seemed to come from within them as well. The Vindicator glowed with intense blue light as Captain Miller and his linked crew poured all their energy into the ship's systems. Through their shared consciousness, they felt the ship preparing for something enormous. "The preservation protocol is activating," Guardian's voice echoed in their minds. "Focus your thoughts on saving the colony." In space before them, the Hegemony flagship Dominion pulsed with deadly energy. Its Nova Core was seconds away from releasing a blast that would destroy everything in the star system. "Now," Miller commanded, and the 6 linked humans concentrated as one. The space in front of the Vindicator began to tear open, not like a small portal, but like a massive wound in reality itself. Through their shared vision, the crew could see the spatial corridor forming, far larger than anything the ship had created before. The Dominion fired its doomsday weapon. A blinding stream of energy erupted from the alien flagship, heading directly toward Hope's Landing colony. But the energy met the spatial corridor instead. Like water flowing into a drain, the destructive power of the Nova Core was pulled into the corridor, disappearing into the void beyond. Through the neural link, Miller and his crew felt the strain on the Vindicator's ancient systems. Alarms they could sense rather than hear warned of overloads throughout the ship. "It's working." Green's thoughts came through the link. "The energy is being dispersed safely across thousands of light years." But the victory was costly. The neural link began to flicker as the Vindicator's systems strained beyond their limits. "We're losing the connection," Roberts realized. "Before it breaks completely, Guardian's presence in their minds grew stronger. There is something you must know. The complete truth about the architects." Suddenly, their shared consciousness was flooded with visions, clear and powerful, not fragments like before. They saw Earth, but changed. Cities that had grown to cover entire continents. Humans who had advanced beyond anything they could imagine. The architects were not aliens, Guardian revealed. They were humanity itself from a different timeline. Your own distant descendants. Miller felt shock ripple through the neural link as the others absorbed this truth. In that timeline, Guardian continued, humanity nearly destroyed itself in a war with other species, a war much like the one beginning now with the hegemony. The few who survived became the architects. They created the Vindicator and sent it back through both space and time, programmed to find humanity at a critical moment, this moment, and help change the course of history. The images shifted, showing the architects building the Vindicator, working against time as their last cities fell to enemies much like the hegemony. The force of people that I was programmed to seek is not alien wisdom, but the uniquely human capacity for empathy, cooperation, and self-sacrifice, Guardian explained. The very qualities you six have demonstrated today. The neural link weakened further as the Vindicator's systems began to shut down, damaged by the enormous energy they had channeled. We're losing power, Wilson's thoughts came through, fractured but determined. Guardian. Miller thought as the connection failed. What happens now? Now you write a new history, came the AI's final words before the neural link dissolved completely. Miller found himself standing on the platform again, separate from the others. The blue light was gone. The ship felt still, almost dormant. Is everyone okay? He asked, his own voice sounding strange after experiencing the shared consciousness. The others nodded, looking dazed but unharmed. The ship, Green said, checking a nearby panel. It's entering some kind of regeneration cycle. Most systems are shutting down. What about the hegemony fleet? Roberts asked. They made their way back to the bridge, which was operating on minimal power. The main screen showed the space around Hope's Landing. The Dominion was drifting, its engines dark after the massive energy discharge. Around it, the other hegemony ships seemed to be in disarray. A communication came through. Admiral Wilson from the Intrepid. Captain Miller, what in the name of all that's holy did you just do? The Admiral's face showed a mixture of awe and concern. We redirected the Nova Corps' energy, Miller explained simply. The Vindicator created a spatial corridor to safely disperse it. Well, whatever you did, the hegemony fleet is falling apart. 3 of their ships are actually hailing us, saying they want to break away from the Hegemony Council. Miller wasn't entirely surprised. Through the neural link, he had glimpsed Guardian's understanding of the hegemony. A coalition held together more by fear than loyalty. Sir, Miller said, there's something you should know about the Vindicator and the Architects. 1 month later, Miller stood in a large conference room on Earth. Leaders from all human colonies had gathered to hear about the Vindicator and what had happened at Hope's Landing. Admiral Wilson had been changed by the experience. His speech to the assembled leaders reflected this. For too long, we've approached space exploration and defense from a position of military hierarchy, he said. The Vindicator has shown us another way, a way based on cooperation rather than command, on unity rather than uniformity. The Admiral unveiled his proposal, a restructuring of the United Galactic Defense Force based on principles demonstrated aboard the Vindicator, smaller, more adaptable units. Decisions made collaboratively, power distributed rather than concentrated. We call it the Force of People Initiative, he said, nodding to Miller and his crew, who sat in the front row. After the meeting, Miller and Roberts walked to the observation deck, where they could see the Vindicator in orbit around Earth. The ancient ship had transferred much of its technology to the human fleet before entering what Guardian had called a regeneration cycle. Do you think it will ever wake up again? Roberts asked. Miller watched the distant shape of the ship catching the sun's light. Guardian said its purpose was to help us change our history. Maybe it's done what it came to do. Or maybe it's waiting, Roberts suggested, in case we need it again someday. Miller nodded. The neural link was gone, but he still felt connected to his crew in a way he couldn't explain. They had shared minds, memories, fears, and hopes. That kind of bond didn't just disappear. The experience had spread beyond them, too. Throughout human space, people were talking about the force of people, not as some mystical energy, but as the simple truth that humans were strongest when they stood together. The hegemony was changing as well. Several species had broken away after the battle at Hope's Landing, forming independent alliances with humanity instead. Others were questioning the Council's leadership for the first time. "What do you think the architects would say if they could see us now?" Roberts asked. Miller smiled. "I think they'd say we're on a different path than the one they took, a better one." As they watched, the Vindicator caught the sunlight at just the right angle, flashing brilliantly against the blackness of space. Not a weapon of war, but a beacon of hope. A reminder that the greatest force in the universe wasn't technology or weapons, but people standing together against the darkness. The ship from nowhere had found its home, and humanity had found its strength.